This week on Focus Outdoors, we travel to Wisconsin to hunt ruffed grouse. Our founder, Tom Porker, pro staffer Mark Haslip, will be joined by Mark Fouts of the Ruffed Grouse Society and Greg Johnson, an RGS member. These four guys have a tremendous amount of ruffed grouse hunting knowledge to share with you. Stay with us. Focus Outdoors will be right back.
This week on Focus Outdoors, I'm happy to be with Mark Fouts, Regional Director of the Ruffed Grouse Society. Mark?
Thank you, Tom.
This is great, and I'll tell you why, folks. Mark is the first stop on a 3-state tour. We're in Wisconsin here, Mark, starting the ruffed grouse and woodcock season for Focus Outdoors, hunting with yourself, pro staffer Mark Haslip, and Greg Johnson, who is a member of the Ruffed Grouse Society.
He's our banquet chairman for our local Duluth Superior chapter.
Which is very successful.
Very successful. He's done a great job the last about 10 years now. He's been with us as a banquet chairman and committee member.
To tell us about what a banquet does for the Ruffed Grouse Society, just in case folks at home don't understand one of the benefits.
Well, the banquet provides bunch of different aspects. It's also a fundraiser that helps us with our operational costs. It also provides habitat dollars that we put on the ground. And we're fortunate in the Great Lakes states and in Pennsylvania, some of our other states that have banquets, that the amount of habitat work that we do. And then we put that down on the ground with also state, county, and federal agencies with different grants and loans with them that double and triple that amount of money that goes on the ground.
Wow.
And with the mission statement for the Ruffed Grouse Society, it's a very hard mission statement because we promote logging, which is sometimes controversial.
Right.
But you need clear cuts, you need successional forests as far as grouse and woodcock, and they thrive in forest habitat, so that's what we provide. We do 99.99% of our work is done on public land. And so it's access for everybody to hunt, and that's what we're all about, public lands and habitat in the forest for grouse and woodcock.
As our group got ready for this hunt, their excitement level was high. Mark Fouts and Greg Johnson knew this area well, and by scouting, they both had a high level of confidence about this cover. They had a good handle on the feeding areas for the grouse, which is a key to the hunting success of this great feed. They also knew the damp spots where they just might possibly find some woodcock.
Grouse. Might be more here, Tom. I got that one for sure.
Diesel train rolls down the line as I'm headed for the land of corn and rye. There is a place always satisfied, full of remedies to ease my worried mind, like pulling catfish on the banks of Cherry Cove, watching wood ducks glide like angels to the shore.
Looks like a little female.
Definitely a small bird.
Yeah.
The other one was...
Young of the year bird.
Yeah.
They're beautiful even when they're small like that. Little gray phase bird, what we call a gray phase bird.
Shot one yesterday that was gray face, just monster.
Why I say this was a little female bird. That little dot on the end. If it had another dot just below it, that would be a male. A lot of people want to look at the fan, and if it's broken here, they always say it's a female. In this case, that does match the rump feather, but that's not always indicative of the exact sex. I always pull the rump feather from here. 1 dot female, 2 dots male, and that's a beautiful young of the year ruffed grouse in Wisconsin. Greg, go over how that Garmin helped us find that dog on point. That was phenomenal. He still had the bird pinned after well over 100 yards of us busting the brush to get here.
Right, when I first look down, what happens is that when he stops for 15 seconds, this vibrates and also sends a tone to me to let me know that he's on point. I was able to look down and map mode, it told me, shows me my track line, shows me his track line. And like you were saying, he was patterning to the front of us, and he was at like 116 yards, and it showed that he was on point, and I knew he was southwest of us. So then I switched to compass mode, and it's kind of like following a video game. Dials you right in.
Okay.
And of course I have a supplemental beeper collar, so that helped us hone in on him also.
And that gives us a pinpoint direction of where exactly he is, so we can try to flush that bird for the dog.
This gets you, very, very close. I kind of like to also have the audible to let me know, at the very, very end. Especially I like to know which way is his head facing, so we can get in, don't push him, get in behind him. But yeah, and he held it well for us while we were
3-4 minutes, quite honestly, from where we started with the last grouse that we shot till where this bird flushed. Now, naturally, with this many people, I didn't quite go the way we wanted to, maybe, but he did his job.
Grouse hunting.
That's grouse hunting. We just didn't get here in time. But nothing that he did wrong. Gus did a magnificent job, and this is really a super tool, especially for grouse hunters and woodland hunters to use on their dogs.
Myself, personally, my left ear, with all the shooting that I do, I've lost a percentage of hearing. And it's just very helpful for me, because sometimes even the audible, I can hear it, but I can't quite tell what direction. Well, this tells you what direction.
It got us here in a hurry.
It sure did.
Yeah, awesome. Good job, Gusser.
Good job, buddy. Careful!
We've done that. We should be right up here, right?
Yeah, 35 yards.
Right here.
Careful! Grouse! Get it?
Yep.
You the man, Tommy. You on it?
Yep.
Come here.
That's a good boy.
Atta boy. Good work, buddy.
Wow, that's a good work. Very nice work.
That thing was running all along that edge.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's a nice big bird too.
Yeah, that's a little bit
Not bigger than that last one we had.
For the folks at home,
big male, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we're gonna find out. Good boy, Gussie. We had that female young bird earlier. Here's your male with 2 distinct white dots. A little bit bigger breast. Fan is bigger. Gorgeous fan on this bird. Absolutely gorgeous. Now here, again, the band is a full band all the way through, so the band does meet the rump feathers on this bird. Solid band.
Ooh, that's a nice big fan, isn't it?
That bird ran 80 yards before we pinned him.
Yeah, point release, and it was all in this, head high brush.
Yep.
Just, it stayed right on, there was that little swamp opening.
Yep.
He stayed right on the edge of it.
There was a certain amount of down brush within that edge.
Deadfall, yeah.
Yep, deadfall brush. But the hazel was thicker because of the sun coming in off that opening. And that bird knew that was his safe haven, and that's why he didn't want to fly. The reason he finally had to fly is we cut him off on this open trail.
Yeah,
and he didn't want to cross that trail with that dog being that close to him.
Right.
Now, for a lot of folks at home, you're saying, what trail? Any kind of opening, any kind of depression in the ground that doesn't have the same type of growth, they get nervous when they hit those edges.
Yeah, it's an edge to them, even like a little deer trail.
Yep.
Oh, some shooting in the background.
Good job. That.
Nice shot.
Here's another thing. When I'm talking hazel, that's all this low underbrush in here. And I can tell there's been birds in here because there's not a lot of buds on this stuff. It'll produce a little white bud, but the birds have worked it over pretty good. Here's a bud right here for you folks at home. That's what the grouse will eat off this hazel. And if it's a really dry year like this year, what they'll also eat is they'll actually pick at some of this greenery once in a while, because anything green this time of year has moisture in it. So hazel, buds, once in a while, leaves they'll pick at, and you can tell this area is just inundated with great patches of hazel, because the canopy for grouse hunting is actually fairly open here. So what this will do, this hazel will keep the ground moist for the woodcock underneath, and it supplies good amount of grouse food for our favorite elusive king of game birds, the ruffed grouse. Grouse hunting is a physical activity, folks. That's why the dogs are so important. They're going to cover 100 more times ground than we ever could walking. And with the tools that we have nowadays, we can really put that teamwork into a fashion that's going to produce quite a few birds. A lot of people get frustrated grouse hunting. Get a trained dog. That's the key to this game. Without that dog handling that bird the way he did, we would have never shot that bird.
You talk about gun and ammo and clothing and everything that it takes, but that dog, that's the most important piece of it all.
It is.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right, let's
we're gonna head north here. This is kind of run out. We're getting into mature stuff, and we'll head north and push it back to the road.
Perfect. That was wonderful. That was a lot of fun, bud.
Awesome.
Thank you. That was super.
Come on down. Just in case here. Whoa.
Sure it ain't a skunk down in here? There you go.
There
Good
got
boy,
Come on,
Patty.
Pat.
Get him. Get him. Hey, that a boy.
Good job.
Come here.
Pat,
Hey,
here.
we need the bird. Good boy. Can you get him? You saw the dogs run over that woodcock all those times. We'll start with the coloration. They're very hard bird to see with the human eye. When they go down in this brown grass with the different colorations and shadows in the woods, they have perfect camouflage. They're super hard for us to see. Number two, when they're dead or severely wounded, they'll dissipate their scent as a survival tool. So remember, mark your birds or you're going to lose some. Take your time. If you see a woodcock go down, they're not a big strong bird. They're in that area. Work hard to retrieve all game.
There it is.
Bro, woodcock!
Now, those dogs work that woodcock pretty nicely as a team. They try to pin it, but that woodcock toddled 60, 70 yards, do you think?
I would say a solid 70. And downhill, downwind from him.
Yeah. Now, people don't, you always hear woodcock don't run. They don't run like grouse, but tell people what they do.
Well, when you look at their size of their feet, they're made for moving. They're made for walking. And with this type of cover that we have, it's set up where they can run.
Right.
And at every opportunity, I'd say, I don't know, Tom, maybe the last dozen years, it seems woodcock tend to run a little bit more.
I agree.
And
I agree.
There's some years that they run a lot, especially when the foliage is down or when it's dead. You can actually see them running and moving and going and darting. And it's pretty exciting, but that's where good dog work comes in.
There it is.
Good dog work.
Hey, you got that bird. Gus just showed up with that bird.
Wow. Wow.
And Tom, you mentioned it earlier. Woodcock are not a hardy bird. Sometimes it only takes one.
Yep.
And one thing that you said earlier in the segment, always follow up on a bird.
Always follow up on a bird.
That's a conservation tool. Is you have a dog, you shoot at the bird, don't assume that you didn't hit it, follow it up, and sometimes you might get a second flush, but more often than likely, you'll get a dead bird in the hand.
Well, we never knew that bird was hit. I could not tell. Could you tell that bird that Mark shot at was hit?
And we knew it was Mark. So
yeah.
I mean,
well, there you go.
Yeah, he was cleaning out the trees for us.
Yeah, our brush master.
Yeah, brush master. You know,
exactly.
But again, one BB follow up with your conservation tool. Best thing we have in the woods is a dog and a good hunting partner.
You bet.
Woodcock! Woodcock! Get bird!
That thing was just sitting down in a hole.
Touch it up. Touch it up.
Good job, buddy.
That was a nice retrieve on a male woodcock. One of the things a lot of guys look at is the beak. If the beak is wider than a dollar bill, if it's wider than a dollar bill, it tends to be a female. If it's shorter than a dollar bill, width-wise, it's a male. This one is a male. It's lighter, smaller than a female. Very healthy bird. One of the most unique birds, and very exciting for the sportsman. A great bird. They migrate all the way from Canada down to Texas, Louisiana.
You got it. Hit bird.
Greg, when you were talking about the edge of the woodcock, and we've hunted together for 15 years, we always talk about edges. And so when you came out of here, what did you see when you looked at this?
Well, and sometimes people think edges. They think something very obvious, like a road and a mature woods versus immature. But even something as simple as where we were just here, we're standing in some hazel and some raspberry, but behind us there's some very young aspen. And the dog came from the downwind side, slammed on point, and it was right on the edge of that little pocket of aspen. And so they really like to, it's a great spot from the land, and they can, if they want to walk further in and dig for worms, they can. But that's a traditional type edge, and you wouldn't think it because it doesn't look that extreme, but to a woodcock it really is. And the other thing that was good about that spot is, unlike where we're standing right here, where there's so much, knee-high grasses and brush, it's a very open forest floor. It's very leafy, and it's a softer ground that they can dig in. And so, a combination of that and the fact that it was that young aspen then going into this brush, it's a great traditional edge. And when Snap went on point, it didn't surprise me.
No. So when we talk about edges, we're talking about openings anywhere in the forest. I mean, and it doesn't have to be big as far as an opening.
No.
And the same thing goes for grouse. Grouse will always be pushed to an edge, and then they find an opening. And so when a grouse or woodcock comes out of this opening, they have many access points as far as escaping. So they're not pigeonholed, and that's what they always want. They want options. And the same thing as you as a hunter. You want options. When you look at a piece of cover like this, always look at what your options are, where the birds possibly could be, and where they're going to fly out of. And you'll have some success.
The other thing is if you push a bird and you don't get a chance to shoot at it and you see it fly on, as you take that line to follow up on that bird and you start to get to see, where you're seeing edges like this, where a bird would typically dive in, I mean, that's a good spot to make sure your dog gets in and works, because, that's what they'll do. As they fly ahead, they look for another opening to dive into.
Another edge. And some people get stuck and they'll just go to the left edge. Work that whole edge. Circle it around, because, even though your marking's pretty good, but when you get, 50 yards, 100 yards, you think was here, it could be over here. So always encircle that edge that you're working. Yep. Give your dog room to work.
Yep, work the downwind side.
A lot of guys will push their dog through it too fast. Give your dog time. That's what they're here for.
We just had some tremendous dog work on the recovery of the game and the location of the game. The Gordon found it. The English retrieved it. That was awesome. We've talked in the past about people forgetting about grouse and woodcock, two of our great native birds, as they travel all over the country, chasing other fine game birds such as sharptails and pheasants. But in the three Great Lakes states, we're in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Well, right now we're in probably the best 3 states in the United States for hunting grouse or woodcock. I remember listening to a past Department of Natural Resource head chief that said there's more grouse harvested than pheasants or ducks combined in the state of Minnesota. Wow. So it's one of those birds that's kind of taken for granted. We've always known that it's there. It's a bird that relies on forest management, and so that's not always a popular tool out there. But in the Great Lakes states, we have people that travel all over the United States coming up here to the Great Lakes states for hunting grouse and woodcock because of the numbers of grouses they have, number of finds or flushes or points, however you want to call it, and also the migration of the woodcock up here in the spring. They nest up here, and so the large numbers up here. Mm-hmm. So we are so fortunate for the amount of public lands that we have, state, federal, county lands in the Great Lakes states. And then you combine that with the large grouse numbers, even in the 10-year cycle that goes up and down, and then also the high numbers of woodcock. I could not think of a better place to be. We're so fortunate that we're in Wisconsin and that we have Minnesota or Michigan on either side of us. And
right.
myself and the other guys that we hunt with, we're able to travel to Minnesota and Michigan and hunt those other states. And so we're very, very fortunate to have this type of habitat for the birds up here.
When we talk about public land and access to public land, we have such great venues as tax forfeited county land, which is open to public hunting. We have state managed land, we have federal managed land, and all those are open. You don't need to ask anyone. You just need to abide by the rules the state lays out.
Most counties have plot books that you can go to those plot books, and it will show you all those tax forfeited lands and or all the lands that are open to hunting.
Right.
And that's what's really nice, again, about the Great Lakes states, is you get these plot books or the gazetteers, and you could find all this land that's available, where when you start traveling down south or out east, most of the land you'll be hunting on is private land.
Right.
So, I mean, there is public lands, but not the vast amounts that we have up here.
In the Great Lake areas.
Oh.
We're talking millions of acres per state. Not just million of acres in a combination of the 3 states, but per state we have millions of public hunting areas for people. And I really think it's world-class wing shooting.
Well, it's, to me personally, I haven't shot everything in the world, obviously, for financial reasons, but I think grouse and woodcock is some of the toughest shooting, but I think it's the most rewarding shooting.
Right.
We talk about dog work. There's a lot of guys that you know and I know that don't hunt their dogs on grouse or woodcock. They'll go to the prairies or hunt pheasants, and to me, they're missing out of half the dog's life and or their hunting life by not chasing the grouse or woodcock.
Right.
And I don't know if it's because they don't trust their dog, but I always was told by an old-time dog trainer and another dog trainer that I know, if your dog can handle grouse and woodcock, it can handle any bird.
And I agree with that.
And there's a lot of truth to that. We've been fortunate today that we've seen some good dog work, but it's a lot of time that's invested in that, a lot of money that's invested in getting some good dog work. But to pass this opportunity up in the Great Lakes states, it's free. That's the other thing that people don't understand. It's free. It's a great opportunity, and then you can still go hunt your pheasants or sharp-tails or huns, or you can go down south to your quail. But right now, during the fall season, there's no better place to be than in the Great Lakes State hunting grouse and woodcock. No better place.
I agree. Folks, don't waste your dog's life. Don't waste your hunting life. Come out, use the tools available to keep track of your animals and keep track of yourself where you are in the wilderness. Don't be intimidated by it. Even if you're a little bit older, there's lots of logging trails and walk-in hunting trails, those types of scenarios where if you're a little nervous about the woods or your physical capability, don't let that bother you. There's plenty of places to go once you get up here in the Great Lakes states. We're blessed this year because we're going to hunt Minnesota. With Greg and Mark, we're hunting Wisconsin, and then we're going to the upper UP in Michigan. And I'm very excited. I think these are great opportunities. I think you folks will see a little bit of difference in each state as far as habitat and how folks hunt. And all I'm saying, follow along, but also get out there and have some fun with your dogs.
That's our show for this week. Ruffed grouse hunting in the state of Wisconsin. Tom and Mark want to thank Mark Fouts of the Ruffed Grouse Society and our GS member Greg Johnson for joining them on this hunt. Do what you can to support the Ruffed Grouse Society. You'll be glad you did. Remember, do these 3 things for me. 1, take a child with you on the next hunting or fishing trip. 2, generously support your favorite conservation organizations. And 3, spend some time in the next week where you focus on the outdoors. For our staff, I'm Steve Hammer. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time when we continue the journey, making more memories.
Watching wood ducks glide like angels to the shores. I'm gonna find me a dirt road and get right in the groove. And let these chains of life unwind till I get loose. I wanna roll down a window and reach out and touch the reeds. And let that crazy world out there go on without me. Like that river only knows one way to flow. Ain't nothing gonna change me, 'cause I've got a dirt road soul.